6 p.m. on February 9, 2022. We'll stand and have a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will not have any live feed today on our meeting, but it will be taped for review and probably posted on the website. So again, so you have an option to go ahead and review it at that time. Under item number 2, agenda deletions and additions, we do have one addition, and it'll be under the public hearing. 7B will be added. It'll be an A through G completion improvement grant will be added to our agenda at that time. That'll be, again, public hearing. Did anyone else have any agenda deletions or additions? We have a motion.
I move that we accept the agenda with the addition of 7B.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved 4-0. A little back feed. Okay. Next item will be approval of the minutes of the January 12, 2022 meeting. Do we have any changes, reviews, corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the board minutes of January 12th, 2022.
A second.
Jeannie's made a motion to go ahead and approve the minutes. Second by Lucy. All in favor, say aye.
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 I will abstain as I was present.
So our vote will be 3 with 1 abstention. Public comments. At this time, any member of the audience may comment on any matter that is not listed on the agenda. Please be brief and to the point, using a maximum of 5 minutes. The board is legally not able to respond and will not have discussion on the item that is brought to the attention this evening. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or listed on the next board agenda. The public has the opportunity to ask questions or comment on specific listed agenda items as they are considered. Normally, each agenda item will have a staff presentation followed by comments or questions by board members. If requested by an audience member, the board will then allow the public to make comments or ask questions on the agenda item presented. After any public input, the board may have further discussion before taking action or moving to the next agenda item. First item. Oh, public comments. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Riley Lopez. That's on.
Microphone? Yeah. No, it's the opposite.
Top left.
We know that your voice will carry. I was just listening.
Okay. Hi, my name is Riley.
That's mic 1. Yeah. Use that mic.
Different mic.
Use that one.
Again?
No, it doesn't.
He switched me, he gave me his.
Yeah. Go, try it on.
Hello? Hello?
So that's mic 6. Mic 5.
That's the
Go ahead, Brent.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go.
Hello. I was like, can I just tell you? Hello?
Test, 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 testing. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you
They never do this.
Technology is so much fun.
go. Wait, it's working. Go, Ryder, go quickly. As it stands, our valedictorian and salutatorian selection process is based on overall GPA calculation. I believe this is something that is not currently equitable with our school course selection and setup. This is because 2 AP classes, which greatly contribute to students' GPAs, are not accessible to many students on campus. The AP Spanish Language and AP Spanish Literature classes, while technically open to all students for enrollment, are not structured or taught in a way that is at all accessible for students who are not already able to speak, read, and write in Spanish. I understand the reasoning for this in terms of our school demographics and dynamics, but when compared to how this class is taught in other schools and the AP classroom curriculum for it, it is clear that the AP Spanish classes and how they are currently taught are not accessible for all students. This has been a factor in deciding valedictorian and salutatorian for at least 15 years and creates a discrepancy between students who do not already speak Spanish but take every other class and a student who is able to take AP Spanish. Another rising issue in the way valedictorians and salutatorians are chosen is dual enrollment classes. While I was taking online courses through West Hills, I was able to get high school credit for certain classes. This replaced those. This means instead of taking AP History or Economics at LeGrand, I did it online, and for the most part, replaced those empty slots in my schedule with electives. This, along with gaining credits from my online classes, caused my GPA to be skewed and lowered because my grades are being divided out of a larger number of credits. I currently have 280 credits, while 240 are needed to graduate, and 120 of those are coming from electives, which is 40 more than required. My GPA dropped after the first semester from a 4.17 to a 4.16, despite maintaining straight A's, and while this may seem small, it's only an example of how thin the margins usually are between the rankings of the top students, because this caused my ranking to drop from first to fourth, from 100th of a percentage point. My proposition is to name each student holding a 4.0 or above GPA as valedictorians of their class, shifting from a competitive dynamic to a goal for each student to reach for themselves personally, rather than having to worry about how well other students are doing or how many classes they need to take to beat one another. This could also allow the senior class or staff to vote on 2 students to speak at graduation through an addition process. This would result in speeches made by those the class feels represents them, rather than those who simply happen to have highest grades. I've been given a lot of opportunities in my time at Lee Grant High School, and I'm not here to criticize the staff or administration, only the system that has been in place for a long time. It might be too late for this to help me, but I hope not. This is something I've worked very hard for and feel I've earned, even if it may not seem important to some in the grand scheme of things. Thank you for your time.
Riley, can I have a copy of that?
You.
Thank you, dear. Good job.
Do we have any other visitor comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our first, and that'll be our board report. Start with Bernard. Or there's a board report, excuse me. Do you have anything to go ahead and report out from any of the board members?
I don't have a report, but I just have an observation that we need to probably look at our schedule again if we're going to be having our Boosters Club dinner dance in August, and figure out when a good day would be to schedule that, so I can talk with IDA to schedule it. And as well, leading into that with Boosters Club, how we should, I mean, there's only myself and a few others who are really don't have kids at the high school anymore. I don't know if we should advertise or how to advertise for maybe parents who are interested, so that we can start having meetings maybe, or I don't know.
Do we have any other board reports?
I had something really exciting to share after I read my agenda, and I can't remember what it is. So I have no report.
Sorry.
I'm sure it was very.
It was important. I was excited over the weekend.
We'll move on to our ASB reports.
So we're gonna go with the IT department first. Sorry, Roland. IT department 6A first.
They're right here.
So something that we've been looking into recently with everybody moving up, with the technology changing, is possibly going to digital IDs for students. One application that we've been looking into is this application called Minga. What this application does is it's a lot more than just our student IDs. It helps our students interact with their school. And this is strictly for our students. And for one, something that we did is we made test announcements and stuff like that. For example, kids could go on here and they have their own, say, Twitter feed that we get from our own social. This will be our own in-house social media. We control it, the kids can see, but it's what we post. For instance, when we first set up the test trial, we put varsity girls basketball away at Mariposa. We also added the JV boys, and we also pulled some pictures that we have on top of our social media. It's simple, but it's something to get the kids talking. And on top, I believe his name is George. He helped me set up a quick yes or no survey. It was just us testing our student IDs, see if they work with our lunch scanners. And it was a yes or no. I had Miss Allie and Mr. Martinez at each answer. I made them do different answers. The answer was yes, they work with our scanners. This is what our student IDs would look like. I won't show the ID though. But what we could do is, one is we could add an ASB sticker on there, and there's no way to forge it because we added digitally to it. One thing that we also were talking about was we have so many groups that sometimes they hold meetings during the school day, and some of them literally are during lunch. So some of those kids sometimes choose between their meeting or lunch. And one thing that we were able to do is we were like, oh, if they gave us a list, like, oh, let's give them our fast pass for today. If you see the top corner, we added a little sticker that says fast pass. But on top of that, then me and Miss Sally started talking, like, how can this get integrated a lot more within our school, our buses? We could start using it. I know that there's scanners that we could use to take attendance on the bus. So we're like, oh, student A got on bus 2 at this time. Or student A never showed up to this bus route. Why are you riding bus 3 when you normally ride bus 4? So stuff like that. But then she came up with, like, what about attendance? I believe there is some stuff integrated with Aries. It's just a matter of us finding what we need and what we can do. What we could also do is at the very top is there's SMS text messages. This is kind of like one-sided. It's just basically like alerts for students that add their phone number. For instance, remember students, today we have a ASB meeting, or there's something going on in the foyer today for students. It lets them be involved, but if students if they don't want the text messaging, it pops up like an alert on their phone, like Instagram, Twitter. What we could also do is we could combine everything that we have into one. We use Remind. Instead of paying for two things, you can just pay for one thing. And it'll be there. And we also have the part where we cover ourselves. Where we're like, well, we had an issue. We're like, okay, well, we'll pull the receipts. Oh, it was just a miscommunication. This is what they were talking about. And so it just really brings up integration of all these extra things that we have into one. And on top of that, we have the digital IDs, which we can integrate into classrooms. And we don't have to pester kids to wear a lanyard, where most of them, what's one thing that they always have in their hand? Cell phone, or even then, they could use their laptop, they could log on online and whatever they have. But we do understand that we will run into the issue of some kids not having a phone, which we still have the ID printer, and we can print out IDs for them. So, any questions?
Who would be monitoring this?
We could create groups, depending on who would monitor it. It could be the front office, it could be anybody. We'll create different groups who's supposed to monitor. But one thing is, as far as like anything that has to do with ASB or fast passes, it will be to one person and one person only. So there's no multiple people that have access, and we're like, well, how come you gave it to this day? That way there's no issues, and we have control of it totally.
Like Remind groups?
Yeah, we'll have Remind groups on here.
Who
So-
brings the tech stuff in there? Like who would be?
It would be anybody that we give access to. For instance, that would be something that we would have to sit down and figure out who we would give access to. Anybody that accesses social media, who will be able to post. I know that teachers could create their groups and send information to their groups as far as like, hey, we have a meeting today. We could create a Metro. We could create ASB, FFA group. They could post information within their groups that only that group will get. But at the same time, we will not allow other groups to see each other's. So that makes sense.
Is it more of a cost? How much more of a cost to the students?
I believe it was very minimal for it. So we paid $2,000 for Remind. This would be almost $2,400.
About that for the whole year. So this
Yeah.
wouldn't be a student cost. We would do this like how we make IDs at the beginning of the year. That's our cost. So instead of us purchasing all of that stuff, we would go with this.
Okay.
Yeah, and we already made the purchase for the ID prints, and we have badges that we can print probably for like 2 years. So that would be no extra cost if we do have to print physical IDs.
Jesus, explain to me in layman's terms how this isn't just the next big thing. Because one of the things that happens is, because technology moves so fast, that we kind of get into, occasionally, it feels like somebody else does it better, somebody else has some sort of wrinkle. Why should we be excited about this and want it for the school?
Honestly, it would probably make it easier for all the kids. Because we honestly pester the kids, where's your lanyard, where's your ID? And honestly be like, leave me alone, you know? A lot of the kids just don't carry it because they know they're gonna get bothered every single time for it. The more you pester a student, the more they're gonna not do it. And that's just how students are. And I used to be the same way. When teachers would ask me something, like, I don't have it with me. Why? I don't know. But
And one other thing, if you remember, there were some of you not on the board at the time, but we had a lawsuit 7, 8 years ago. And one of the things that came up was the student was not on the proper bus. And so we had ID scanners on the bus. That's one more thing that we can go back and say, well, this, and even the drivers could say, you don't belong on my bus, you can't get on this bus. Unless you have a note or something from the office, or we could put a pass or a sticker on bus 6 today or something.
Is that the most compelling, like, kind of addition for, like, the utility of it for us?
The
Yeah, I heard
utility,
from you.
that for me would have been a big thing, because back then when that all happened, and no, we don't have those things happen very often. The other thing I think for me, because I'm the one that asked Jesus to look into this, is I keep thinking about how do we make things more efficient for attendance in the classroom, and so if we put the scanners in the classroom, then the kids, when they come in, would scan in, and all teachers would have to do, instead of going in and counting kids absent, they would just have to look to make sure every kid scanned in. So it's gonna save time in the classroom also.
Is there any other schools you remember now?
I forgot one of the name of the schools. They showed me, pretty much, they said, we could show you, but you really don't understand it until you use it. And that's where I used one of our students' IDs, and I scanned the ID, and it worked. I sent Dr. Martinez and Ms. Ali a message, okay, they got the text message. Logging in is easy, because we control who logs in. They use something they're gonna use every single day once they get to junior high school, which is their email. They log in with their same email, same password. They literally click sign in with Google, and they're automatically in. There's nothing different that they'll have to do. As far as them using their phone, that's something that they do regardless, and they have it in their hand.
All the time.
Okay.
It's in there. I just had to look, and I knew. See?
Will we charge them like text rates, like for, you know, how they're gonna be getting texts?
So pretty much a lot of the plans that are out now, they have unlimited plans, but if they don't have their phone number, they'll just get the push notification. So, and then as far as text messaging for us, there's a prepaid plan that's already done, and it's included in the bundle. So it's 50,000 text messages for the entire year, and if we ever need help, they're there to help with whatever we need. They also gave us a $140, I believe, to start this year. We would pay $140, and we would be able to start the IDs, but we won't have the text messaging aspect till the following fiscal year, which will be July 1st. But all I need to do to get started is literally spreadsheet, first name, last name, ID number, and then we find their pictures, put them in, and there you go. Everybody has their IDs, and we just tell the kids, all right, kids, download this app, and there you go. Their IDs are done.
Does it save the information like on the cloud? Is it cloud-based or is
Yeah,
it
it's
like-
pretty much cloud-based, but they don't pull any very identifiable marks as far as like date of birth or anything. It's just literally the first name, last name, and their ID number, which would tie them to us. Afterwards, we do a rollover. Kids that are seniors graduate, they get deleted, and then we just bump grades and we do it all over again. And then we'll ease roundup as well, because literally we could be like, here, take a temporary picture, let's go, next student. Here, take a picture, next student, and their information's already pre-registered for their IDs. And they have their ID first day of school.
Also, the ID number is not the CalPADS ID number. It is, Aries gives the kids each one an ID number, plus we have the ID number that's the state identifier for each student. That is a different number, and that would not go on this. It
It's the
would
one
be
we
the
use for
Aries
lunch.
ID.
Yeah, it's in their email address and it's their lunch number, it's the number they know.
It's our
only
internal,
four
it's our
digits.
internal ID. It's not identifiable outside.
Yeah. That's what they use.
So, kids also don't like to use the apps that the adults do. I think I know the answer to this question, but I want to allow them to answer it. But without the kind of the cool function of getting the kids all in one spot in a social media sense, the other functions are totally enough in your mind to justify trying it. Because there's time, there's onboarding, there's a lot of time spent to get something like this off the ground, but in your eyes, are the functions that we're talking about, is that enough
Oh,
to justify the effort?
Definitely, because this Remind alone, I have to go make sure that data integrates. What else? Parents Fair, I'm not really worried about because Parents Fair does it on its own. But Remind, I have to make sure that we roll over, and it eliminates one thing that I have to do. As far as everything else, we create the groups for the teachers, and they'll just roll over themselves. And that's what they told me as far as onboarding. Onboarding as well, when we first start, they're gonna help me, and literally I just have to run a query, pull out the information, give it to them, pull students in, and the only thing that we're really gonna have to do is really, hey, name, all right, now smile, and that's it. And then if we do really want to take nice ID pictures, and we'll just set up a picture day, and we'll go ahead and take nice ID pictures that day.
Does it eliminate and remind your parents where?
Not Parents Fair, because what this does is our communication with students.
It's internal.
It's internal, it's not meant for us to communicate with parents. It's meant for us to be able to communicate with our actual population of students, and it focuses on student engagement. ASB can use it to their advantage, honestly. They could get more kids engaged, figure out what they like, what they dislike, figure out what they want to do for homecoming, figure out what they want to do for Spring Olympics. What do they want to try new? And I think it gives the kids an actual voice without having to be like, well, student A is this, student B is that. And it actually gives the, what's the term? It gives the voices the voices.
Yeah.
So it's anonymous, doesn't really pick up any
So
names.
it's an additional thing, it doesn't eliminate parents where it doesn't eliminate Remind.
We could replace Remind with this.
Because Remind is supposed to, like, I'm supposed to be getting Remind messages, but I'm not a student.
No, Remind is different. Remind is for us to be able to, for our groups to be able to communicate, to text each other, which is a safe way for them to text each other, which would be an advisor with students, for them to communicate outside of email. This would replace that.
So I think you guys know that it sounds wonderful, like it's an expansion of what, kind of where the kids' minds are,
Yeah.
how to harness all of that power. I get it, I'm down for it. I personally am like, is this gonna hinder at all our interaction with the outside world?
No,
This
because-
isn't what this is about,
No.
but you're talking about, even Remind doesn't work that way.
No,
but-
was never meant to be our school with parents. It was meant to be our school with our students. So a safe way for our students to communicate with our teachers or their advisors. And that's the reason we implemented Remind. But now, with this, it makes no sense to us to keep two things that do the
Right.
same. We'll just roll over to one where one does a lot more than just the other.
Okay.
Also, students don't check their emails at all. So
Yeah.
even if other students are sending out information, like the junior class will always send out information about like their fundraisers or prom or ASB if we're trying to send out. Kids don't check their email. There's like 2 kids on campus that check their email, and this would probably help us get that information that we need to. And kind of, as it stands now, unless with Remind, unless you're already in the group and the teacher has to, that's a big problem too. Teacher has to add your class, you have to put in the code. But with this, kids would automatically be in it, so we don't have to worry about that. And it's a lot easier to get them to access something on their phone and actually go and check their email. Yeah.
Email's old fashioned.
Yeah, emails are
It is a little.
kids still check their email. And right now, that's our most efficient way of communicating with a mass group of students, and this seems like it would replace both Remind with smaller groups and emails with a whole classes.
And then, just to add on, we could also use Parent Square. Kids don't want to use Parent Square. Literally, they would prefer, if we use this, I believe it's a lot more engaging compared to everything else. Like I said, I'm pretty sure ASB can just create polls and be like, what do we want to do at this next rally? Let us know. What do we want to do at this next homecoming? And like I said, voice to voiceless, which is what we do. Our kids that don't participate are those that don't get a say because they're not outspoken or outgoing. And I think this is a way to bring our school culture up to where it needs to be. Not saying that art is bad, but I think it could be a lot more engaging, and that's where I believe we don't lack, but we could improve.
How do you prevent kids who like want to get on there, like use it as a bullying
They can't.
type?
It's either you can't post, or you vote on what they ask you. There is no comments. There is nothing that allows you to communicate between student A and student B. It is strictly between, if an advisor posts something, it's advisor and student.
Half that.
Yeah, it's either advisor and student, or they literally just communicate within the inbox that they have, but it's always very protected as far as for the advisor. If there's anything that happens, we can pull reports and see what it is. If the advisor comes, like, I don't feel comfortable, we can pull that report and be like, here you go. And then we could see if there was anything that was wrong or anything that happened, and we could address it.
But student can't.
No,
And then the photos, how do those, like?
that would be us. There's an option where we could allow the students to change their ID, but more likely we will not allow that. Yeah, more likely it'll be whatever picture we take for them, and there you go.
Thanks, Jesus.
Do you have any other questions?
Class pass stickers enough.
Yeah.
Or that's a class pass sticker, I like.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Thank you, Jesus. Appreciate it. We'll move on to item B, dual enrollment with Mr. Martinez, Dr. Martinez, and Ms. Maciel.
And this is something you're going to have in your pockets, or your packets, I should say. And thinking about a few years ago, when we started talking about many opportunities that we wanted to present to our students in terms of allowing them to take college classes, there's been many variations along the lines and looking at various models from other schools, what has worked for them, what has not worked for them. Our idea is to try to minimize the mistakes that we're making here for our students if somebody else has already done the legwork for us. I'll give you an example. When we started looking at this Tranquility High School, one of the things that we went and observed, we kind of liked the model, but then we kind of also looked at the things that they were not working for them. One of them being that they have open courses for all students, and they were allowing all kinds of students to take college classes, which initially sounds really good. However, one of the realizations is the fact that a lot of the students were not prepared to take these college classes, and therefore were failing some of the college classes, which in turn, when they are now matriculating at college, they're already deficient. They are putting them at risk for financial aid because now they cannot get financial aid because they already have some deficiencies. One example, and then as we're moving forward, also looking at the classes that we can offer for dual enrollment, okay? We will continue to have access to the students, or students will continue to have access to the classes for elective credits. But we want to channel in the ones that we offer at Lindgren High School that will be dual credit. So they will receive credit at the college, but will also receive credit at Lindgren High School. So what you have is a list of those courses that we think are going to make more sense for our students taking that dual credit.
So this is more like a roadmap to, for a student to see what class they can take in lieu of, for example, Art 1. They can go to the college, to Merced College, and take Art 15 or Art 24A, and that would be equivalent to Art 1, okay? And then it would also, the A through G, it indicates there what category it will fulfill. And some of them that are blank, it's because it's a high school requirement for us, but not necessarily fulfills an A through G requirement. So we looked at what Merced Union High School District was doing, we looked at Madera Unified, and we looked at other school districts to see what they were doing and what was working for them. And then we got bits and pieces and made it a plan for us. Merced College is our feeder junior or community college, but we also work with West Hills for our online courses. And our kids have been really successful with West Hills, and that's why we listed West Hills. But if you look at the top, there's also the CID identifiers. It's a website where the kids can link and see, for example, if they wanted to take at Madera Center, or if they wanted to go to Oakers, or wanted to go somewhere else, Fresno City, Modesto JC, they can click on there and find out what is the equivalent to that class there. So it's something there. So our proposal here is for kids to fulfill basic high school requirements while also receiving the dual credit for high school and college. Now, we've limited to this number of classes because this is the introductory or intro classes the students can take at the college, fulfilling a high school requirement also. The one that gets a little tricky here is going to be the social studies. As you see, the world history, students do have to take 2 classes to fulfill 1 year of the histories. For example, world history. They have to take, at Merced College would be history 04A and history 04B. At West Hills would be 20 and 21. And that is because of the time era. The California state standards indicate history or world history needs to be taught in a certain era, and these two courses would be equivalent to one. 17A, 17B, both at West Hills and Merced, is also equivalent to 1 year of U.S. history here because of the time difference. The U.S. history 17A goes from 1492 to 1877, and then 17B would be 1865 to present. So a student will be required to take 2 classes for 1 year of the U.S. history class here. And then the rest are pretty self-explanatory, where kids will learn or earn the math, the foreign language, the science would also be equivalent. Now, if this only limits to high school dual credit, of course, kids could take as many classes as they choose to throughout their 4 years. And we just want to make sure that we get the approval from the principal and one of the counselors to make sure that we are setting up the student for success. Questions?
Any questions, any comments?
I'll say it again only because I think we should all be thinking. I think you guys are too. But just to say it out publicly. Merced College has a pipeline to UC Merced. So if kids are wanting to double down and do dual enrollment and get a head start and do those things, and their plan is to maybe end up at UC Merced, we should be encouraging them to take Merced College courses. And I don't know why problems persist for you guys to develop that. I don't know what Merced College is doing, but I support you guys in all of that effort because I think it's important that they be able to access that pipeline. I mean, we live 10 miles away from UC Merced. Let's not, put obstacles in front of ourselves if we don't have to. I know you guys are concerned about that. I want to make sure it was said because it's kind of written in our board packet.
And like I said before, we always continue to work with them and try to figure out a way to mitigate those issues. And I've always said it, they're our partners. Every time that we come to the table, it's just like, it seems like we're getting closer and closer. Unfortunately for us, Merced College tends to also work a lot better with bigger districts just because they have the personnel and the manpower to do those classes versus us. It's just a little more challenging, but no, we will continue to work with them. Thank you for that. Any other comments?
I get confused on how it helps or hinders the grade point average. Is it the same, or like if they take, I don't know, a math class at the college versus here, does the grade point average work the same?
No, it does change. So students do get a weighted GPA if they earn a C or better in the college class. So for example, if I took Art 15 at Merced College and I received a B, then I would get weighted credit for that B. So it would be on a 5.0 instead of a 4.0. So any class here that we have approved, the students will get the weighted credit. Now when it hinders is when kids choose to do multiple classes at the high school and then multiple classes outside of the high school. It sometimes will hinder if they start being deficient, where financial aid will kick in when they graduate. Or also, we want the kids to get exposed to college classes. If they complete their AA, great, but they also have to be ready. And when I say that, it's, if students receive their AA degree in high school, they need to know and be ready to jump into upper division classes when they hit the university. And sometimes our kids might not be ready for that. Sometimes they are, like, right, she's ready, she's ready. But my child might not be, because she needs to be exposed to a little bit more. So we have to be careful on preparing the students for success instead of hindering them. Because West Hills College counselors have come and said, expose the kids, don't force them to do something because they might not be ready for it.
And we do provide some support in some of the classes at least. For example, for English, we have Ms. Lopez where she's one of our teachers. Students are taking the English class through college, but she's there to support them every step of the way to ensure that that at least they have somebody that they can rely on if they need help.
And then it has worked well because she supports them, she helps them that first semester. They earn that grade through the college, and then second semester they're on their own. They're taking kinesiology, they're taking health education, they're taking American Justice. You know, they're taking other courses on their own because they already know how to navigate that college system.
Do they go actually to the college, or do they do them all?
They're all 100% online.
Online.
Yes. And West Hills has their whole AA degree online. So students can earn an AA degree online. We purchase their textbooks here, but basically it's free. It's free for them. So parents like that aspect because they're earning college credits. They're earning credits towards, you know, their BA degree. So when they choose to leave here and go on to UC Merced or UC Davis somewhere, they're taking those credits with them. So they knocked out, yeah. Last year we had a student knock out about 6 or 7 classes. So she's right now she's at a sophomore standing at UC Merced. You know, Riley will go into college being a junior status.
And when you talk about
Again, they have to be ready.
and when you talk to the parents about that, I mean, think about the amount of money they're saving by knocking 2 years out. Right? So,
But again,
it's a-
they have to be ready, the students have to be ready. It's not for all, it's not cookie cutter. It's something that we as counselors and we as personnel have to see if the student is motivated and disciplined to do the work.
We sit with them, as they look through the course schedule, we sit with them, and we'll be like, I don't know if that class, I think you'll like this class better, we know the kids enough, we kind of can lead them in the right direction. And most of, the biggest thing I see is the seniors that come in and haven't taken any classes, but they want to do the English, they're usually terrified at first, and once they're successful, then they're like, oh, I'm gonna take 2 or 3 classes, how many do next semester, I can do this. And then most of my students are taking 2 or 3 this semester, just on their own. Because they found success and they realized they could do it. And I feel like they're going to go to college feeling much more prepared and kind of knowing how things are structured and the expectations and all of that versus kids who haven't done any.
And through West Hills, their counselors are really nice. Like I think sophomore year, freshman year, when I decided to actually go for the AA route, we did a phone appointment with a counselor through West Hills where she's focused on doing well with students. And we created a course plan so I knew what classes I was going to be taking every semester, what classes I needed to be taking, and what electives I could kind of choose. So I had that all planned out freshman and sophomore year, and that kind of really helped plan that. And I could take, every single class was offered online except communications was supposed to be the only class I had to take in person. So I kind of got lucky, so everything went online, so I was like, okay, I took communications online. So it was online, I just had to do Zoom meetings, but it's a class that they usually require you to do in person. I just kind of got around that.
So if this is 100% online, I'm sorry, I'm taking it back, then what does it matter which district the students come from in terms of smoothing these paths between different school districts and Merced or West Hills? Like, why does it matter where the students come from? They're just enrolled in the class. It's not like they're coming here and teaching.
No, West Hills services anybody and everybody. So Merced College, what they do is they call CCAP classes, where it's only high school students. So it's an extension of the high school day. And the professor will come on site, teach on the high school site, only to high school kids.
But you just said that it's all online.
No, that's Merced College CCAP classes.
So
West Hills,
You just said all of this was all online.
Just West Hills.
West
for
Hills.
West Hills.
Okay.
And Merced College does some courses online for the general public, and also K-12 students can enroll in those. But the CCAP classes Merced College has, where if the instructors are in person, and they do a hybrid schedule, where the professor will come only like maybe once a week and check in with the kids, and then they'll instruct online. But West Hills is 100% online, and it's open to any K-12 plus college student. So you have, when you have discussion boards online, you have students that are high school kids, you have adult students, and then you have even older professionals that are coming back and taking classes on there. So when they do their discussions between students, it's a different process, it's a different mindset, where they're experiencing different discussions between adults and the students.
Different ages, yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have 3 teachers that are teaching a class for Merced College on campus, our own teachers. Miss Marshall, Miss Benson, and I think it's Corey. Is Corey teaching?
Mason, adult school.
Yeah, so, for the ag department, we were 2+2 articulated, then we just got notified like December to do that. I don't know if Corey's is, my AgCom's supposed to be. We just have to finish filling out the individual paperwork, so then our classes will count.
And that's actually what I did. That's how I got my last credits for A. I took from AgCom. I got them from Merced College, transferred to West Hills. That's how I finished that.
So those are some of the things that Merced College is still from moving from the 2+2 to the CCAP. And so those are still some of the things that, the bumps in the road that we're trying to get smoothed out. Because not everything is online like West Hills. And again, for the high schools, so like Merced High, when they're teaching an English 1A class, it's only to high school students in the high school. They're not being exposed to other adults. They're not being, and so, like Norma said, it's just an extension of high school. So.
And, the beauty of it is through West Hills is a lot of their courses are zero textbooks. So a lot of community colleges are going that route too, is where, and I know Merced College is also, for students enrolled there, there are zero textbooks. A lot of West Hills professors have their syllabus or their supplemental material online for free for kids. So once again, it's costing us very little to run the West Hills or even Merced College courses because of the zero textbook policy that they have.
And with this, by no means are we leaving Merced College out. On the contrary, we want to make sure that they're continuing partners with us. And that's what you have in there with the 2 colleges that we've been working on, and of course the classes that we offer here at the high school and how they will compare.
But even if the kids take West Hills courses, they can still get into UC Merced, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, because they're all
Yes, and West Hills College is an approved through WASC, through their WASC, through the community college system. So it's transferable. So if Riley chooses to go to UC Merced, she can take them anywhere because it's an approved community college.
Yeah, the UC or CSU applications, they'll have you add your high school and all of your stuff like that, and then if you took college classes, they'll have you add your college, and West Hills and Merced College pop up, and then you can download your transcripts and stuff.
And the reason we initially went with West Hills, I know it's out there in Lemoore, it's in King County, and it just, when we went to go see Tranquility, that's who they were using, because West Hills is on the west side of Fresno County. They have a partner or a site there. And that's what we saw, it was modeled. Merced College was not to the level that West Hills was at when we first started looking at them, maybe 4 years ago?
After we visited Tranquility, we actually asked Merced College for a meeting to see, and they just weren't doing what we wanted them to do, or offering it, so that's why we did West Hills and asked them to keep working with us and build that program.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about just accessing any school when you're ready for it. I'm talking about being able to exploit the golden path that they're presenting it as the MC to UCM. That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's
I want our kids to be able to take advantage of everything.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what, we guide the kids to wherever they choose to do. We're here if they choose to go, to an out-of-state school, to a UC, to a CSU, wherever they choose to go and what path, we're always open and helpful for it. And if we don't know, we'll find out. Let's watch our research with them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to our ASB report. I apologize, I should have been following the agenda.
Hi, my name is Raul Sanchez. I'm the ASB president. On Monday, we honored 9 seniors in the girls soccer senior night. Tomorrow will be girls basketball senior night, and then Monday will be the boys basketball. We honor each senior with flowers and present a thank you that they have written to acknowledge parents, coaches, and supporters. For winter formal, we have booked the date with the Vista for February 25th, as well as a DJ who allows students to send in song requests beforehand. The DJ has also provided a photo booth with free photos for the students to take home. We will begin selling tickets next week with prices being a single ticket for $15 and a couple ticket for $25. Students with ASB single tickets will be $10 and couples will be $15. We have started planning Winter Olympics as well, which will take place March 4th. We are waiting to see whether this will take place in the gym or on the football field. If we're able to be in the gym, we plan to keep most of the usual activities, and if it's on the football field, we are planning some new activities to replace those that were restricted to the gym. Questions?
Just a note on the Winter Olympics, we have a few events happening the same day, one of them being the portfolio day for RFP, so that's taking place on the 4th. So as a matter of fact, this afternoon we're discussing and probably moving the Winter Olympics to the 11th. One of the issues that we also have on the 11th is that the drop deadline for a yearbook to submit. So I've been in conversations with Mr. Williams. He is talking to the rep and see if we can extend the submission of the yearbook just a few days, so that will allow for students to take pictures of Winter Olympics and then be added to the yearbook. So more than likely it will happen the 11th instead of the 4th.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, advisory.
On December 15th, we held our local speaking competition. This was our 3rd year holding this contest with over 35 kids competing. This is a way to get our students involved and out of their comfort zone, working on a much needed life skill of public speaking. The events our students participated in included creed recitation, impromptu speaking, extemporaneous public speaking, and prepared public speaking. We used the results of this contest to both prepare and select students for the sectional Super Saturday contest. So we had 11 students compete in the Merced Mariposa sectional Super Saturday public speaking contest. In the creed recitation, impromptu speaking, job interview, and extemporaneous speaking, our students were successful, with sophomore Colby placing 5th overall in impromptu speaking, and I placed 1st overall in extemporaneous public speaking. Because I placed 1st, I advanced to the Central Region speaking finals that was held this past Friday. Even though I did not advance out of my room, I was happy with my speech and knowledge gained. My topic was, how will the lack of rainfall in California affect the relationship between production, agriculture, and urban use? I discussed water usage in California, pulling knowledge gained from my ag communications class and farms advanced trip for my speech. Overall, this was a very rewarding experience, and our students look forward to continue working on their public speaking. In December, 7 of our students competed in the sectional project competition contest, presenting their SAE projects to a panel of judges, demonstrating their knowledge and skills learned. SAE stands for Supervised Agricultural Experience. It's basically an agricultural-based project that the student operates outside of class time, where they manage their time and often finances. On February 2nd, we attended the sectional awards banquet recognizing our students. Valentin earned a silver award for his field work with Live Oak Farms. I earned a gold award, merit award, and the Yosemite Farm Credit Scholarship for my ranch work SAE. Aiden earned a silver award for his self-owned landscape maintenance project. Grant earned a silver for his beekeeping business. Colton was awarded a gold for his blueberry production SAE. Colby was awarded a gold medal as well as the Outstanding Sophomore Project for her Ag in the Classroom SAE, while Tristan was awarded a gold in the Outstanding Freshman Project for his work on J&R Barroso Dairy. We are incredibly proud of our sectional project competition participants who put endless amount of effort and hours into their projects. They deserve all of the credit for their successes. I will be attending the Sacramento Leadership Experience Conference from February 22nd to the 25th and recently received more information. I will be acting as an assembly member representing the city of Oakland as a Democrat. I will be serving as a sponsor of an assembly bill creating an incentive program for carbon farming. I'm really excited to network with our local government officials and learn more about the legislative process. As springtime nears, we are preparing to receive fair animals for both Chowchilla and Merced Fair. We will be adding 8 more pens for sheep and goats at the school farm because we've seen a large increase in the amount of students interested in showing these species. We currently have 19 sheep, 12 goats, 11 pigs, and 12 rabbits on deck to begin projects. This Friday, 18 students will be headed to Modesto to attend the Made for Excellence and Advanced Leadership Academies. These leadership conferences help our students to gain valuable communication and problem-solving skills that will serve them in the future. Our Ag Communications and Leadership team, our Ag Communications class and leadership team is preparing for our FFA Week. We will be doing our FFA Week celebration next week from February 14th to the 18th. Members of committees have selected a day of the week and worked together to develop a theme, creating a dress-up date for students to participate in, as well as a lunchtime activity or game. We are excited to celebrate the National FFA organization. Applications have been sent out to all agriculture students to apply to attend the California State Leadership Conference. We have 24 spots available for members. Students selected to attend will spend 4 days in Sacramento, attending general sessions run by state officers, hearing motivational speakers, and attending leadership workshops put together by colleges and ag education students. This year we have 6 judging teams, including ag mechanics, floriculture, veterinary science, vegetable crops, land judging, and best informed breed hand. These students will travel across the state for the next few months, competing at different colleges and high schools in their contests. Thank you.
The ag department's very busy.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way. I mean, all of your things that you personally have done, that really means a lot. And it's hard to go ahead and win, on that level. So, I mean, again, your dedication and preparedness has really risen to the top. So
Thank
congratulations. Do we have any other reports?
School advisory.
School advisory.
Yeah, so school advisory, we've met. We were supposed to be working on the safety plan. However, there were other things that truncated that, that being the LCAP. We needed to do a revision of the LCAP. So we work on that instead. I did call the county just to make sure that we were not going to get in any sort of issue with the deadline of the safety plan approaching, and they said no, that they understand everything that is going on, and that's happening throughout as well. So you will see we'll be working on the school safety plan at the school site council next month. So just know that that's been kind of pushed out at least about 1 month at this point. And that was the discussion that we had.
And then athletic department.
Pardon me?
No medical.
No medical, and how about the athletic department? We know that you're busy.
Well, this, I can tell you from last year, last year was so much easier. This year is because it's been a little crazy that we've had to quarantine our teams. Other teams have had to quarantine when we were supposed to play them. So honestly, I feel bad for our boys soccer team. They really fell short. They had to quarantine twice. And so they missed a lot of games, and then soccer has to end by, they extended it, but they had to end by February 7th, and so our boys were still in quarantine, so they didn't get to have a senior night, they didn't get to play a lot of games. So I know Daniel made a proposal and brought some stuff to me, and I shared it with Ms. Martinez, and Ms. Martinez and myself and Ms. Alley, we meet every Monday to talk, but then I was just looking at it, and he has it down for March 3rd, and we have that for report card night, so I already see one conflict that we have to talk about. So I feel bad for soccer, but hopefully we can do something for their senior nights. I know Daniel, he's taken pictures for all of our fall sports and our winter sports. And then also Mookie has also come to a lot of the games, and if you can see on Facebook, he's posted a lot of pictures of all the sports here. So he does recognize a lot of our athletes, and he does it out of the kindness of his heart and puts them on there. And if you want, we did group pictures, and so he would come and take group pictures with girls, and then he would post them, and they would just get to print them. They wouldn't have to, at no cost. So him and Daniel have did a lot of pictures for all of our stuff. But for boys basketball, we had 9 games to make up in, what did I have? A week and a half, and then on Arbiter, they froze dates that I could not go to. So like since last Sunday, we had a Sunday game here, and then we have a game every day this week except for today, and then we have one on Saturday, then we have, they're even playing on Super Bowl, and then they're even playing on Monday, and even on Saturday, like they have one game in Denair on Saturday, and then from there, they're going to Gustine and playing at 4 o'clock, because what happens if we forfeit during, like we've had to quarantine our basketball team. So during that time, if we can't make up a game, we automatically have to take that forfeit. And so our boys are doing really well. I think they're in the hunt for, the way they're going, they could be in the hunt for 2nd or 3rd place and go to playoffs. So it was a nightmare trying to, can we do this? I mean, I was literally pulling my hair out, but we did it. We accomplished it. But then like I had girls playing at 7 o'clock, and I had our JV boys playing at 5:30. Well, then we need to make up a Gustine game. So then I had to switch girls game to 5:30 and Gustine play at 7 because they have transportation issues. So it's been crazy. So I am looking forward to winter ending and getting into spring softball, baseball, and track. But that being said, the Darryl Lackey Scholarship is coming up February 22nd. So Riley Lopez is one of our ones that will be applying for it. We could only do 1 boy, 1 girl, so we have the paperwork, and so Ms. Maciel goes through, and we have to go through all the qualifications of the GPAs and all of that, and who has the GPAs and who's played sports and how many sports and all that kind of stuff. There's a criteria, but it's really like the academic kind of side. And so I have Riley Lopez and I have Daniel Padron that is also going up against everybody, so we like to send the cream of the crop to go up against all the other Southern League schools. Last year, Alexia Guterres won it for us, but unfortunately she didn't get any money last year because we didn't have any foundation games, and that's where they get all their money.
She got a ton of money.
Oh, she sure did.
I mean,
She ended up getting twice as much as she
I know, but she didn't get it from CIF. Other people had donated it, sorry. But other people had donated it to her, but she didn't get it personally from CIF, and CIF has a scholarship that they do give to the students. So that's what I was going to. So far, any questions? So tomorrow night is going to be the girls' senior night, and that's going to be at 5:30. And then they also travel to Mariposa on Friday. Boys and girls play in Mariposa on Friday. And then the girls will be wrapping up their, like Riley was walking to practice, I was like, last senior practice, she goes, oh my God, you just made me think of that, I'm so sorry, I didn't practice, you know? And so the girls will be wrapping it up, and the boys have to finish strong, and they'll be going to playoffs. We have softball, baseball, and track going on right now. Softball and baseball started January 31st, and so our numbers are a little low there. I know that for softball, I'm only going to have a varsity team. In baseball, they're only going to have a varsity team. I know other schools, I emailed Delhi, and I was like, are you guys going to have a team? Because I haven't had a softball team in like 2 years. She's like, yes. I was like, yes. So other schools are in the same boat as us. Is the numbers are low. I think softball, baseball, and track get hit because it's the end of the year, and everybody's been playing all the sports, and they're trying to wind down and get ready, and so kids aren't coming out. We haven't had our fall banquet. I know I was talking to Raul. And so we got to figure out a fall banquet, but then with all the guidelines from the health department and Dr. Sadi, like I told you last time, she said, can you guarantee me everybody is vaccinated in there and they're all not positive or negative? And I'm like, I can't do that, so I don't know. So we're trying to think of maybe being outside or something, but we have to figure out a Saturday that we don't have any sports going on, but we're gonna be discussing that on Monday. We test athletes every Monday and every Thursday, and so, well, right now we have stations at the bus, so if you get off the bus, anybody can test. And then we have them in front too as well, and we test every single day, and we've been doing that since we've come back from school, January 10th. And now, hopefully, we're gonna go back to testing every Monday and every Thursday, so, any questions or anything? No, I think I covered everything. And track just started this Monday, and so he has numbers. I know that we'll be using vans. I know that one of the athletic van will be used a lot, but we may run into issues because baseball may have a game and we may have a track meet, or softball may have a game and we have a track meet. So we won't be using as many buses as we had to use during winter months, but we'll be using vans. Any questions? Comments?
Are the schedules posted already for softball, baseball?
Yes, and they're online, and hopefully, well, I know we need the rain in April. I said, well, we should be getting rain here pretty soon because softball and baseball starts. So then my nightmare will be that we'll have to start rescheduling games. The one thing that CIF did this year was allow us to play on Sundays. So that's what we're doing, is playing on Sundays, and all basketball games have to be wrapped up by February 14th because then they start playoffs that week. So it's just, after the 14th, we have to have all the games and their scores and everything in so they could do the deciding factor on who's going to playoffs.
Very good. Do we have any other reports? Other reports? Okay, then we'll move into our public hearing. We will start that now at 7:08. And we'll start out with 7A, Educator Effectiveness Block Grant.
So this is a grant, somehow it just got by me. I don't know what happened, but I am late on this. It was supposed to have been all completed by the end of December. It's $164,274. I laid it out because it's over a 5-year period, so I didn't show us using any money this year because when we called to the state and asked what would happen because I'm late, they said, well, the auditors could ask you to give back a portion of the money, but if we're not using any this year, hopefully they won't ask that. The funny thing is I didn't get any of this turned in, and they have already sent us $131,419.
Nice.
So I really, anyway. But it will come back again next month to be voted on by you guys. So this is a public hearing for any public input. This money can only be spent on staff development for any of our staff. And that's what it's being used for. We have staff development to continue moving forward for, our new teachers and for all of our staff and continuing with standards-based alignment. There's some staff development where I put money aside for the social emotional learning and the trauma-informed learning things that we know need to happen. And there's also money in there to continue with our restorative justice practices. And again, it's for both teachers and classified. So I laid it out over the 5-year period, or 4 years essentially, starting next year, and what we'll be doing with that money. Any questions or input?
Does it buy additional training, in-service, whatever, or does it pay for all the stuff that you do anyways?
If it could, because I've got all my Title I money for training too, so this could be additional money, yes.
For example, one of the things that I'm looking at doing is, it's always nice when we have ample time to go over specific things at the beginning of the school year. Right now, we only have 2 days of in-service. So I was actually talking to Ms. Lopez the other day about the possibility of having something that she does and Jesus that they do, it's a tech camp. And not a lot of the teachers attend because obviously they don't get paid for that or whatever, right? But this will allow us to extend that opportunity to all teachers so that they can participate on that and then extend some of the things that we've been wanting to do, but because of the shortness of those 2 days, we kind of pack everything in. This would allow for that to happen. So I see that as an expansion.
Allow it for a third day?
Possibly 4 days.
And we would pay staff for being here on those days. We couldn't require that they all be here because those 2 extra days are not part of the negotiated contract. But we can pay them for their time to come in and we can provide the opportunity. Any other input on this? Okay, again, this will come back next month for action.
Now we'll move on to 7B, the A through G completion improvement grant.
So, and I did drop this in the board documents folder. It is, I'm pulling it up on here. So again, this is another, it's like the state keeps giving us money, but this is all categorical money, so it's tied to plans. They want to plan for everything. Again, this is over a 5-year period. But the only thing I knew for sure, we just got these numbers yesterday, was the 196,909. And 75,000 of that has to go for learning loss, and then 121,909 for A through G access. One of the big things that we've been talking to UC Merced and wanting to get a plan or partner with them and taking a look at reviewing which students are taking A through G classes but failing, or students who are not taking A through G classes, and then also have them look at subjects where we do not have completers, and then come up with a cycle of improvement after they gather all this information. So we want to use some of this money to do that. Don't know what this is going to cost us yet because we're still working that out with them. And then it will help us develop strategies and data to use and helping our students make sure they're meeting A through G. Then we've also said credit recovery through Acellus or retaking of classes on campus and requiring tutoring for failing students. So we could hire some tutors through this. Have teachers review data and grading practices. We've identified, and we said 350 students. That doesn't mean 350 students have failed classes. That's just where they want a number of who could possibly have to retake an A through G class. So that's where that number has come from. And then the last thing was to increase our number of A through G courses in the CTE pathways on campus. So Norma and Rosa are working on getting our medical classes and some of our ag classes and some of our business classes approved on the A through G course list, more than what we already have. This would also let us pay for AP exams to provide waivers for kids who want to take the APs. And then we would also use some of this money to purchase the textbooks for dual enrollment for students that need textbooks. So, and then the last thing is we'll continue to build upon the services in the LCAP and to continue to enhance what our unduplicated pupils will receive in services. And our unduplicated are free and reduced lunch kids, our any foster youth, English learners, those kind of things. So that's what I have so far for this. This will also come back next month for approval, and there will be designated money in each of these categories by then.
Something I want to add to that is just on the timeliness of this grant. We actually, I received this grant 3 weeks ago.
Correct.
And it's due at the end of the month. So that tells you, here's the money, but here are the strings that you need to be able to attach to this so that you can receive the money now.
Well, you have to prove that you've done all that before you get the money?
No, that means that the plan. So we have that time frame to put the plan together. The money, I mean, like Gisela said, that some of the money's already been given to us in some of the areas. So it's like, that's a crazy thing. Which is good. I mean, I'm not complaining because we have money to do extra things. But I just wanted to caution on that and why, you know, Bertie, we are bringing some of these things to you, and that's just because we just received it.
And this is happening across the state. When I was down at the conference, a bunch of small schools came together and said, look, we gotta do something about them throwing all these plans at us and then telling us to turn around in a 2-week time and try to put a plan together that's gonna be useful to us without having the data we may need to make sure it's gonna be used appropriately. So, any questions on this one? And if you guys think of anything, again, this will come back, so if you think of anything that might be useful for any of this, please email me, let me know, because we will take any input.
We have one more item in public comments or public hearing.
Yes.
That'll be our LCAP.
So, this is another new piece the state has said we have to do with LCAP, which is, and you guys have this information, we have to now do a mid-year report. And so we have to give an annual update for what we're working on right now. We have to show mid-year expenditures, and we have to have any mid-year outcome data related to the metrics. So again, let me, let's see, I can pull this up where you can see it online. So some of the things that are in our LCAP, and it's in our LCAP every year, is the purchase of the campus license, the, let's move on here, because I'm not gonna go through everything. So again, we've purchased Canvas, Acellus, IXL, Actively Learn. So we put $6,000 here, we've spent more than $6,000 on all these things. PD on the following things, delivery of synchronous and asynchronous online instruction, Canvas, closing the learning gaps, implementation of our state standards, restorative justice, all these things. So we've done professional development. It's been completed by the IT coaching, teacher, administration, outside personnel in the different areas. We had professional development the first 2 days in August. We had professional development on October 25th, and we had professional development on January 7th. We had 90% attendance by staff. There are always a few staff that call in sick or something has happened. Challenges with professional development have been when staff has caught COVID. So that's some of the things that we've had. As far as we continue with our MTSS meetings, which have been inclusive of parents, and being part of the students' education for their academic support. Students receiving job skills by working at the branch. It is now open again on Saturdays here at the high school. We are still not open on Tuesdays and Thursdays yet, but it has opened back up on Saturdays. And again, one of the issues, closure due to COVID. This is one that's an ongoing that we've had for numerous years in there, but we keep it in there because we pay for the extra math teacher, the halftime science ag teacher, and this year the new EL teacher out of the LCAP. Special ed coordinator, that's Stacy's job, as far as communication with feeder districts and her working at 3 different districts. Our enrollment has increased and this is on dual enrollment. So the enrollment has increased by 25% during the year with West Hills College. We have one student who will be graduating with an AA degree at the same time as receiving a high school diploma. We do have one medical terminology dual enrollment class with Merced College. We're still struggling to get dual enrollment with Merced College from kids. The one that is not in here is the class that Miss Marshall is doing. Oh no, it is in there, I'm sorry, what Miss Benson is doing. So those are some of the things that are happening. Students are able to take online courses through Acellus for advancement and enrichment. However, the big issue there is students are not able to complete the courses online in the 20 days of school during the summer. So again, these are things that as we've gone through, we've answered them. I'm not going to read every one of them, but those are some of the main things. This is 16 pages long instead of 300 like the other, but and you can see what money has been spent so far. Any questions on any of this? These are some of the metrics at the end, baseline, and what our target is for 3 years down the road. And that's on the very last page. Again, this is a report. It is not anything you guys have to take action on.
Do you have any other questions that might deal with our LCAP? Seeing none, I guess we are done with our public hearing. So it will close at 7:23.
Next item, number 9.
Our administrative reports, we'll start with Granada High School.
All right, so we just started back in January. We came back on the 10th, and so far today I had a senior, a senior that was a 5th-year senior, graduated, so we're really excited. I've had 4 students already graduate since we've come back from January 10th. So I told them they need to slow down because my numbers are going low. I may not have a job anymore because I still have 4 more students that are 10 or less credits. Some of them have 2, 7.5, 5, and 11 credits. So they're doing a great job on getting their credits and doing their work. Oh yeah, please, thanks. Our cycle just ended, and so I had 12 students. They're liking the cycle meeting because like I get gift cards, I bring donuts, I bring their hot Cheetos, and so we try to get all the kids. Like I had the highest person that got 19 credits, and then it went 19, 18, 14, and then all the way down to 9 credits. So out of those 12 kids, they all got some sort of gift that they got to choose and what they wanted. And so I know one girl, she wasn't there, and she's like, well, where's my gift, Miss Purdell? I was like, you weren't here, so I gave some, Miss Purdell. And I was like, well, ask your friend, because actually she took your gift, and she was like, ah. So the kids really look forward to the cycle meeting. I know that we're gonna have report card night, so we're gonna still do the same thing. Our cycle will be ending that Friday, and then report card night will be the following week, so hopefully we do have some parents coming in. Instead of having to mail their report cards, they'll come in, and we'll be doing it at the same time as the high school because we're using the same teachers, and so we just try to do it all in one. I know that doing my walks, they really like that we are doing that. I always forget to put it in there, but for report card night, that we do it all at the same time, so having separate report card nights. Other than that, we're still working hard over there.
How many students do you have?
Right now I have 38, but, and then I have 4 that could be graduating. I have a couple of juniors that came over, and they just were like, dealing with other things that were going on in their life, that they're like, they just took wind, and they have like 5 credits and then they're gonna be out. Some students decided, the ones that stayed, they were like, you know what, I'm just gonna graduate, and they're already enrolling. I know that Ms. Mastiel talks to them about FAFSA, and they're getting all that information. I do already have some students that graduated in December, and they've already enrolled in college at Merced College, so they are still continuing their education, so they're doing good and furthering their education, so that's a good thing.
That's awesome. The Grand High School.
I'm going to start with the academic decathlon celebration. We had that event taking place just last Saturday, February the 5th, and we had Maria Guardado Hernandez. She received a varsity bronze medal in the interview competition. She also received a silver medal in the varsity group in mathematics, and she received a Robert Wayne scholarship, which is $250. Brandy Ayala took a silver medal in the honors group in the interview competition, and most improved student on LGHS academic decathlon team. Riley Lopez, top scoring student, academic decathlon team, and Robert Usher, who received the Robert Wayne scholarship, which is $500. She also received an honors and in the honors category silver medal in the interview competition. And Ruben Villagomez received a bronze medal in literature as well. So we had a pretty good success from our academic decathlon. Very proud of them. You know, they're always represented very well. In talking a little bit about the CTE pathways and some of the things that we are doing, and some of the money that could be utilized as far as the A2G grant is the computer science courses for next year. So we continue developing the courses. If you remember, we hired a computer science teacher. So what is going to happen is now he's going to be moving into the next layer of coursework, more advanced work, and then Mr. Williams will take, we're going to move away from the business applications model into the computer science. So he will be teaching those introductory computer science courses next school year. So we'll be having more meetings to complete this pathway. I was approached by the Alliance for Community Transformations just the other day, and I have a meeting on Friday, as a matter of fact. It's very interesting what they want to do. I don't know where it will take us or if it will even happen, but they're very interested in having conversations regarding what we can do to support, and when I say we as the students in school, the modernization of the Park here at LeGrand, and then also they want to do some sort of memorial for the Ortiz engines. So I'm very eager to learn a little bit more about what the project is all about. So once again, that's taking place this Friday, so I'll give you a report next time we meet. We completed the SARC, the School Accountability Report Card, for both Granada and LeGrand High School. There are similar components in there for the district as well. So we were able to submit those, and they're ready to go. One of the things in that plan, or the report card, we usually have the state assessment as part of that report. Well, last year we didn't give the state assessment, so we ended up utilizing the NWA results that we use as a benchmark. And so I just have to go in there and segregate the data for the 11th graders, upload that information in there, and you know, did that. USC rather, University of Southern California has approached me also in terms of a project that they have statewide in terms of utilizing the California Healthy Kids Survey to add a questionnaire. It's about 10 to 15 questions that they want to add. They want to measure the social-emotional well-being of students in the state of California, particularly through the COVID and what we kind of experienced last year with the distance learning. So they've asked if we could partake on that, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding those 10, 15 questions on the Healthy Kids survey, but furthermore, we're actually going to get those questions to everybody. So it's not only for the freshmen and juniors, but it's going to be everybody at Lincoln High School and Granada High School that is going to take this survey. That's something that is going to help me in turn to kind of calibrate where we are and what are the needs and what some of the things. I always think about the money that we have at hand and how can we use it. Well, if we have a survey that is particularly of interest, where it's coming from, it will allow me that opportunity to be more specific on what is it that really is happening, where the need is, and be more utilizing the money. Currently working on conducting teacher officer evaluations. This time around we're going to have 4. So you'll see those next time we meet. Okay. Parent report card night, as has been mentioned, is scheduled for Thursday, March 3rd. The calendar calls for Wednesday, March 2nd. That is Ash Wednesday, so we don't think that will be a good time to have that because we're going to be in. So we move it to the 3rd, and that's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30. It's going to be an outdoor event. And we're going to be right under the shade structure that we just did. Magnificent lighting right there, so that's where it will be held at. Continue with the equity grading. Project is something that we started a few years ago. COVID came and kind of put a halt to that. We are retaking that idea. How do we provide equity in our grading? So that's going to be a theme, and that's going to be something that we're going to be moving towards. So expect more of those reports as we continue having those conversations with teachers. And then last but not least, and I don't remember if I shared this with you last time, but they asked me to be part of another WASP visit. I don't know, it's very popular for that. I don't know why. They're good, but well, maybe that's what I should be doing until I get searcher. The interesting thing about this one, that this is a probationary visit, meaning that the school didn't get more than maybe a 2-year WASP accreditation. So they have to now do this probationary visit. So I'm very interested to see. I've never done one that is that, so I'd like to learn from that for sure. And that is my report.
I have a question. Being that USC came to you to go ahead and request, to do these additional pieces of work, do they offer any type of compensation?
So yes, there is a compensation. It's $300, a lot of money, right? And what I told them is that, and every time that I get some sort of monetary compensation, what I like to do is just give it back to the kids.
I think that it's excellent to be able to compile that information so we have a better plan, which again, will help you on so many of these other audit reports. Because that you've been very specific on how that can be used, so I think that's excellent.
Javier, what is prompting the concern about equity and grading? What is it tied to? You don't just all of a sudden wake up and say, are we giving the grades out properly?
I think it's one of the discussions that we've had in terms of how much, and it encompasses many things. One of them is the weight. The way that we are weighting our tests, for example, right? That if you get 50% on a final, that skews the grade for the student at the semester grade. It's about the number of zeros that teachers might be giving, right? And what does that do to the student's overall grade? So I'll give you an example. The difference between a 0 and a 50%. Versus the difference or the effort that I need to put to go from a a 60 to a 70 and get a C, it's like day and night. So it's really thinking about what is at stake, what are we grading? And one of the main topics that we've been discussing is, are we measuring work turned in, work completion, or are we measuring learning? So that's really what's prompting the equity grading. It's a lot of hard work. It's number one because we've always done it this way, particularly in education. It goes back 100 years. So to change that, and then when you add the amount of work that is needed to make the change, it's a lot easier to say, leave me alone, than actually to take a look at the work that is necessary to provide students with that equity.
Because my understanding that part of it is like logistics, how Aries works, how teachers set up kind of the semester and things that will be graded, and that it is part of it, the logistics of it, not just the actual learning or the.
Yeah, and for example, one of the things that through Canvas, which is the MLS that we use, now they are actually becoming more aware of those things, so they're allowing for different ways to grade. One of the areas that we're exploring is how do you take any disciplinary or what we call the citizenship grade away from that equation. So just because I'm defined in class, why am I failing that class? And of course, if you take the equation of, well, I'm submitting work, I am showing you that I mastered the standards, then that's an inequity. You shouldn't be failing to because of that, or if I'm late to class, or those little things that sometimes, well, not little, but things that affect the students' grading is what we're also taking a look at. So it's a huge topic. But we're going to be chiseling one step at a time. Ms. Hall, do you want to talk about what we did today?
So, and Lucy, this kind of ties into what you were asking him. So, when I went to the superintendent's conference, I went to a session on what's called thought exchange. And so I brought it back, and so we asked to do a pilot this morning with the teachers. So it was like, as we rethink our grading, what should it look like and what are the most important elements? And teachers, 26 participants, 50 thoughts, 948 ratings. So this gives us a lot of information. This all happened this morning in collaboration, all of this. And so these are some of the things that came out of it. It talks about differences that we see, side A, side B, and then the things that were common that they found. And so these in the dark are thoughts that somebody put up. One of the teachers, students should be graded on their concept knowledge rather than right or wrong. This makes it equitable. All students learn at different levels, but all students are able to learn rather than right or wrong, complete or incomplete. Did they grasp the concepts? So 4.7, it got 4.7 out of 5 stars from the different ratings. And then on the other side, I feel we should not change grading, maybe change the way we teach certain things and give students the time required to complete. Students have to understand what it is going to be like after school career, how employers will hold them accountable, and how to be responsible. That got a 2.2 rating. And then we've got common themes that everybody agreed on. And again, these are all comments from the teachers. Nobody gets to see who wrote the comments, which is what I really like about this. This can also be used with the community. This can be used with staff. It can be used with students to get, and it's called thought exchange. It also tells us like the word cloud, and this isn't done by us. This is done by the company. And again, we got all this morning when we were done. And so it works really well. And so the bigger words are the words that came up consistently in the thoughts people put in, and it all came from the question, Lucy, that you asked about grading. So I really like that. Here are some of the different thoughts again that you can see that staff came up and said. So if students earn half credit for doing nothing, what do students who actually did have credit worth earn? And so, you know, comments, and again, you don't know who said it. People can agree with that or disagree with it by the number of stars that are given. And again, this is a safe way for people to be able to say, I really don't agree with what you're asking me. But a lot of times they won't say it out loud when we're all in a session together. Today we got lots of comments we would have never gotten if we just had teachers, you know. So, which again is something that I like about this program. Then it will go through and show you by a graph. The word work came up a lot, okay? And that's one of the overarching themes, grading.
Work as in?
Like how it ties to work or student work.
Like the verb or the noun?
That's a good question. I have to go back and see what the thoughts were that are tied to this.
Yes, click for more detail.
Where does it say?
Click on it.
On the
Because that's essentially what we're talking about.
Right there.
That's kind of what we're talking about.
There it is.
The verb is, are you getting credit for doing nothing? And then the results would be.
Right, so here's where that word came from. If a student earned half credit for doing nothing, what do the students who actually did half the credit worth earn? Student work ethic. Sadly, we have too many students who have little or no work ethic. How do we fix this? It doesn't matter what grading system we choose, if the students don't put forth the effort, the grading system will flop.
That's grim.
The student's work ethic, mastery of the subject. Although a student that shows mastery of the subject, example A on a graded test, they still must do the work to be consistent and fair. Students need to be graded in a way that allows them to show their strengths and improve on their weaknesses. If a student is told time after time that they are not doing well, they will continue to do so. If they're able to redo the work, they can master the work. And again, when you see these stars, these are people who are agreeing with what's being said. And it tells you 20 people agreed with this. This one, 19 people.
And that's out of your 26.
Yes. Yeah.
Scroll down, I want to see how many people agree with that one right there.
Which one?
That one.
Which one?
I am a teacher, can I stop?
Yeah.
Work and still get paid.
I can't see, what is it?
Oh, I'm a teacher, can I do half the work and still get paid? Students need to know real life doesn't work that way.
Is that 20?
And 20 people responded, it got 3.5. And then I don't believe a student should get half the credit for doing nothing. A student can do very little work and still get a passing grade, which does not correctly show the standard of mastery. The other thing, we had them read an article about grading, and that an A is from 100% to 90%, a B from 90 to 80, a C from 80 to 70, a D from 70 to 60, but an F is from 50 to 0. So why not give those, what the article was saying is, why not give those who are getting an F 50% versus a 0? Because when our kids get a 0, if everything, I mean, they could be making B's, a good solid B, and 1 0 is going to drop them down to failing the class.
So make it a real number.
Right.
What they earn is what they earn.
And so that's kind of what the article was talking about. And again, different people, you know, again, when talking about that, because one of my comments to one of the teachers when I was walking around, well, what's the difference in getting an F? If I get an F, a 0 or a 50, it's still an F. you know, so those were some of the things that came out of this. The other thing that I really like about this, that it gives us a slide presentation to do. And it shows again, you know, thoughts. We had 50 thoughts, and of those 50 thoughts, there were 964 ratings. That means people rated them numerous times. What is your knowledge level of standards that's supposed to be based grading? We said we had 9 that never heard of it. To me, I would like to know who those 9 are, because I know we've talked about it a lot.
Well,
Forever.
You do have a PE teacher, so.
True, but I don't have 9 new teachers.
Maybe, I don't know.
So, you know,
Isn't that like
but
they
I
wanted
mean,
to-
this gives us real information as administrators to go back and say, where have we missed the boat? Or what is not connecting? And so, and it's real-time information.
Because you also have 12 that know a little bit about it.
Right. Correct.
Which means most of your teachers are saying,
What is it?
Kind of, right.
that's alarming.
Right, that is correct. So that's the work that we need to do, right? It's like-
Yes, correct. You know, and so we've got more articles, and because again, it's about learning. And again, coming back to the word cloud and showing which words came up consistently and came to the forefront. And then showing student performance in the classroom. These were key thoughts, and the students earn half a credit for doing nothing, you know. We've seen that numerous times. And in what way does our grading prepare students for college and career? Students should be prepared to be evaluated as they would be evaluated in higher ed or the work world. And then again, it goes through the things by thoughts, miscellaneous thoughts, grading, learning, work. And then again, the thoughts around work. And the nice thing that I like about Thought Exchange, it does this for us. That's not us putting it together. This came to us like a half an hour after we were done with the meeting, with all
Did you
this
pay for it?
information.
Do you pay for Thought Exchange?
Well,
Don't ask the
yes,
price. Don't
that's
ask the price.
that's the thing that, again, this is something I saw down south. I heard lots of other superintendents talk about it, and I was real excited till I heard the price. And it is $24,000 a year. Yeah, but like I told these two, if we do $2,000 a month, because I know sometimes I can spend 3 to 4 hours on a PowerPoint and still not have it right, and have to bring somebody else in to finish helping me. And if I, you know, if I look at it that way, am I gonna save us that much money? And I've already been talking to Sean, and I told him that price is really hurting me. I said, I'm not worried over the next 2 years, but I said, if I can't sustain this, I'm not gonna do it. I said, it's not the next 2 years I'm worried about, it's down the road. That I don't know if we would be able to sustain this, but again, I just, you know, like that all of this came to us immediately. We're not having to take that information and glean through it and come up with this stuff ourselves, and the time that it saves us. So those are some things. I'll be coming back to you guys. I've also talked to him about if we get together with another school, and what would that look like, and with the price, you know, if we could share a cost.
Well, you're a small school.
Yes.
So I mean, it's like, you look at Merced District, you know, I mean, they're obviously can go ahead and spread that expense out.
Exactly. So, anyway, that's Thought Exchange, and it is something, like I said, that I had on my list to talk to you guys about, but it was a good segue with the question Lucy asked, and I wanted you guys to see it. So you have to go ahead and go over my other things.
Go over the district.
Yeah, so again, we went over high effective educator, A through G complete. Granada is gonna be in CSI one more year because the CAS wasn't given last year, and we have CTIG money coming in. And just of those four things, we're getting another 200,719 for Granada, and our CTIG money, $450,000. So that's, with those four, we're getting over $1 million coming in from the state. And I got all this information in the last 3 weeks. I got the last 3 of them just in the last 2 days with how much money and everything's coming in. We also have kitchen funding coming in for infrastructure because the state, we're going to universal meals next year, which means every student, which we're already doing, gets free breakfast and free lunch, but that's going across the whole state. So originally they told us we were getting $27,000, but today I got something saying we would be seeing probably $100,000 or more.
Wow.
So I mean,
Where is all this money coming from?
Your
Why is it there now?
Your taxes,
taxes.
and more taxes.
Yes. So just letting you know that that's there and things are coming. The other thing, we've had a few issues on campus with break-ins. We had a stolen car. I think we had told you about that a month or 2 ago. I don't remember. And then just yesterday, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, at 1 in the afternoon, we had a car pull up out here, crawl under a truck, and try to cut out the catalytic converter. Did not get it done. We could not get the license plate. We got the color of the car, that kind of thing. We called, and done the reports. But one of the things, I brought everybody together and I said, look, we either need to get some more cameras out in our parking lot, because I want to make sure, I said, yeah, we're all responsible for our own vehicles, but we need to help ensure that nothing's happening to vehicles.
Are they student, do we know? Are they students? Or?
No, they're not students
I'm
doing this.
CSI.
Can't say anything.
I can't say anything, but I can tell you.
Anyway, we do think we know who it is, but we have no definitive proof other than the color of a car, and more than one person can have that type of car. We turned everything over to the police and let them do their work. And we can tell them who we think it might be if they need to go and deal with it. I said, because if we put something out saying it is and it isn't, then we're putting ourselves in a spot.
You can't, say, I guess if you were to put it out there, then it gets you in trouble. Like sometimes when.
We could
you
be
see
held
something, you can
liable.
say,
That's the thing, is if we put something out and it's not
Now,
true,
if I had a camera that
Yeah.
will identify who you are, then I say, here's who it is.
But if
But they didn't have a license plate on the front.
Well,
But it's a very distinctive car.
Yeah, and the cameras are, where we have it mounted, and the megapixels that we have are not high enough resolution to be able to zoom in all the way to where it happened.
so a
How
couple,
many cameras do we have out there on?
We just added cameras.
Two cameras in front of the gym.
Well, just
Yeah.
like Friday night, I was leaving from practice, and a black Honda car pulls up and is doing Brody's at 5:54, and we still have kids leaving from softball practice, and all of our cars are in the parking lot, and I'm like, really? And there's 2 guys in there, and then they just drove out of town.
so a couple of things I'm gonna do right away is we've already ordered signage for video surveillance that we're gonna put up. Then the other thing we're looking at, and I brought Henry in, I brought Dan in, these guys, we're either gonna look at putting a center pole in the center of the parking lot with 3 or 4 cameras on it. Or one of the things that Delhi is doing is they have a drone that flies over their parking lot constantly, or when motion's detected, it flies over. So Jesus is looking into what that would cost us. He gave me a cost of a couple of the cameras today already. It was about $10,000 total to get them out there, and that's not even putting the pole and getting the electricity. But I said, I really think we've got to try to find a solution to this to help keep things safe. And I think
That's
it's
our money. It's for our safety
yeah,
and mental well-being.
yes, I would agree. So,
Thank you for the,
You know, there's a mental component.
I got it.
so, oh no, hey, we try to use that ESSER money every way we can. So, anyways, I wanted to let you guys know about that. On facility side, with our two new buildings, the health building and the ag building, they're getting ready to go up, and I had Susie put a picture of the area out by the bus barn. I don't know what I did with my picture now. Hang on just a second while I find it here.
Here's a
Thank
set.
you. So if you look at this, one of the things that came up in the DSA review, thank you dear, for the ag addition is our fuel tank is closer than 50 feet. And the fuel tank, which is on this sheet, located right here. Once the new building goes in, it's like 30 feet from the new building. So this is our fuel tank right now where buses fuel up. Where their two red spots are, that's where we were looking, it's 50 feet from things. We don't prefer to put it right next to the street because of people trying to steal gas. So the other place we looked at, and we went back and checked with DSA, is over here by the animal open area. And because those are not enclosed buildings, DSA says you can put it there. So we did that. And so that will have to be moved, and we're gonna plan on getting that done in April on spring break. The other thing we had to do, and the second picture is the big red dot where we plan on putting the fuel tank. And that will also make it more convenient with the new bus barn and everything.
quick question, you said that it will be, because I haven't seen that specific, but it's gonna be by the, where in the apple farm and the,
It'll be right behind the sidewalk, where the sidewalk,
do you anticipate any issues when students are there and they have to fill up, anything like that?
not at this point. I mean, students are around now where it's at, and it's close to the,
Is there a possibility of moving that closer to where the vehicles are being stored? They
no,
were
because
building-
that's 50 feet from that building.
Oh,
We have to be 50 feet
From which building?
from the brand new
Oh,
bus
storage.
parking,
got it. From any building or from that building?
from any building. And so if you look at the other aerial view, if you guys have any suggestions, I'm willing to take them.
Back in the day, it was over here.
Yeah,
I don't know, that
But
again
that's-
is another limiting
Yeah.
factor because you're close to the gym. Where
correct,
it was a long time ago.
yeah. So again, and we are gonna put a rolling gate for the buses as they drive in and out to come in here and go out this way. Once everything gets completed. So, that there's easy access, kind of a view around the maintenance building. Okay, so it will be here and around. So again, it's making sure where we're putting it is 50 feet away from any building structure. The reason we can put it next to the animal structures is because they're open air. Okay? The other thing is we had to have people come in and do a backflow test on all the hydrants. And one of them failed, and so they were gonna put a stop to that, but John Slate, the fire chief from Merced County, wrote a letter and sent it to DSA saying there was plenty of water and the hydrants and stuff we had would have enough pressure, and if they didn't, they would bring tender trucks from Planada and here, and then we filled out another piece of paper that I had to sign that was attached to his letter, because the backflow one, Henry told them, that one is not ours, even though it's sitting on our property, and you need to go over here and do a backflow test, but they didn't. So again, it kind of went back and forth. And we had 2 backflow tests done. And so depending on water levels, things like that, it all plays into that. But all of this, once John Slate wrote the letter and I signed Form 810, it went up to DSA and they are supposed to accept that. So we should be hearing here probably in the next couple of weeks that everything's approved on those 2 buildings to move forward. Bleacher sets. So we got, if you remember, we ordered bleachers. We have 5 small sets that have 5 rows each. And then we have 2 big sets with 15 rows. Well, we found out today that the 15-row bleachers have to be DSA approved.
So that means they have to be mounted to the ground.
They have to be mounted on concrete and have to be approved through DSA. Remember that fiasco we had with the other bleachers? I said, I'm not gonna go through that. We will do what we have to do these bleachers properly and get them done.
Part of the whole thing about the smaller ones was so that they were movable.
And the smaller ones are.
The bigger
That's
ones,
not, the
they're
smaller
not.
ones are not the DSA thing. We can use those are put together, they're gonna be out there. But we got 2 larger ones, one to put on the baseball field and one to put on the softball field. But we can't do that until we go through the process with DSA.
So they won't be up this year.
No.
I was
still
just
gonna
about
keep the
enough
old
of
ones there?
DSA.
I
I'm not
don't
even
know.
kidding.
Henry will probably put 2 of the 5 for softball this year. On softball, and then, because we've got 5 sets of
Well, we
those.
can still keep the old ones there.
No, because they're unsafe. We need to take them down. Then, bus barn, all the electrical is done. The fencing is getting completed, and the slats that are gonna go in the fencing when the gates are closed will look exactly like the slats we have around the fenced area right beside the maintenance barn, and it's a gray color, so everything will match.
So what are additional slabs gonna cost us?
The
Where's that money
additional
coming
slats
from?
were $4,000.
No, the slabs, the concrete slabs.
Oh,
Sorry.
For the bleachers, I do not know until I go to DSA, because now we're gonna have to pay DSA fees, which, you know.
Is that gonna cut into
Can we send
our-
these bleachers back and get
our
13
bond money?
instead of 15 rows?
No, only 5-row bleachers you can put out without DSA approval. Only 5 rows. Anything higher than 5 rows, it has to go through DSA.
More regulations.
More regulations that have come.
Just more money.
Cause it's not even stuff, you order it in good faith, you're not grandfathered in.
No. So these are just as new, I don't know what to tell you about the state, it is the state, and so I don't want us to have to pay penalties or go back and have to pull them down and redo it, I just want to get it done right the first time.
Will they walk back there and look at them?
Well, yes, because anytime we do anything, they look at the whole site. They don't look at just what you're doing. Kind of like with the gas tank thing, they look at the whole site. Other questions? I know this is frustrating, guys.
We get money and then we gotta give it right back.
Yes. Adult Ed, I had an email asking about truck driving classes out here, offering them through Adult Ed. One of the things is they would need a classroom for a week or so for 6 students during the day. And I don't worry about that because we can use the library room or possibly even check with the water district about using the extra room there. But the other big thing that we need, and we've got to check with a couple people, but we need a big yard or area for the drivers to practice driving the truck.
You don't have that space.
No, we do not have that
Nowhere.
space here, but I don't know if maybe Garcia Brothers might have some space like that in Planada, because this would be, you know, for our tri-district area, or if there's some space someplace else.
Ramirez's have their parking right there adjacent to Live Oak and railroad tracks. That would be impossible.
Okay,
So,
so I would need to know,
part of that is Live Oak, isn't it? Correct on that end, closest to the Grand Road?
By the railroad track?
Yes.
The parking and the other parking isn't enough. You say they're doing it on weekends?
no, this would be through the week, I'm thinking, but I'll double check if they can do it on the weekends or on a Saturday. I would have to check and see if that would be big enough.
Might not want it under asphalt.
Right.
Well, we have like a thing, we have a
So,
field.
and again, I'll have them come out and look, but that's just one of those things where, and I know truck drivers are high demand right now and we need them. So we're checking into a couple different things, just letting you guys know, and if you have any information that would help us, like what Lucy said, well, what about our overflow area, and, would that work? I would have to have them come out and see. LCAP meetings have started, as you guys know, all of that. I did have a parent call on the Dale Lackey Scholarship and questioned how we've been doing it, and I said it's one of those things that's how we've always done it. I'm not saying that we can't change it, and I said, because they were saying, well, why isn't every student who qualifies available to fill it out? And I said, well, what we've always done in the past is those who have the highest GPA and do multiple sports, that's the 2 that we pick. I said, we can look at having anybody who qualifies for it, fill it out, we'll come up with a committee, go through those, and then move it on. I said, that won't happen for this year because we've already done this, but I wanted you guys to know, in case any of you heard about it, I did talk to the parents and said thank you for that, because one of the things that has come up on our radar, it's our middle-class parents who are struggling to pay for college. Our kids who are low income get a lot of FAFSA money, things like that, so I want to make sure we're affording every opportunity to those kids that may be in that middle-class range. So that is something I have talked to Gia and Javier about, and so we'll come up with some type of a committee system or selection committee and look at starting that next year.
Well, that's just 2 kids. I mean, can't we, just the idea of helping out the middle class kids, the BLOS scholarships, are they still throwing money at us?
BLOS, we get money every year. I haven't seen the check this year, so I don't know how much will be available, but a lot of those kids will get money for 1 year from us for that, so yes. That's all I have.
Do you have any questions?
I'm sorry, one thing I didn't talk about, I do need to talk about, COVID. So one thing that I have put up on the website, it's right here, it's called the COVID dashboard. And I'm doing 2 weeks at a time. So the first 2 weeks that we came back after Christmas, we had 80 kids on campus that were confirmed positive, 12 staff. That 2-week period, we tested 2,125 times kids, and staff 221 times. That was 4% positivity rate for students and 5% positivity rate for staff. The last 2 weeks, numbers have gone down for students, down to 63, and we have had more kids than this out of school, but these are kids who have actually been on campus. And then staff, we had 13 more staff cases. Our total students tested the last 2 weeks was 1,956, staff 201. Student rate went down to 3%, but staff rate went up to 6%. The other thing is, I've had them attach the county public health information on here, so everybody can see it. And where we are with public health. The other thing is the governor and one of the legislators are, have come back together to extend the COVID sick leave or come up with a new language for COVID sick leave. It hasn't been signed yet, but it will be. It's AB 84. Full-time employees that have 26 employees or more have to give 40 hours to employees and they do not have to bring proof of COVID or anything like that for the first 40 hours. If they want the second 40 hours, then they have to bring a proof positive test to show that they need the second 40 hours. It can also be used if they're taking care of children, things like that. And it will be retroactive back to January 1. So I told my staff to hold all of our absences for COVID off to the side. We haven't even charged their sick time yet. So letting you know that. Lots of stuff that has been coming out on COVID that we will talk about a couple things in closed session that happened today with the superintendents. That's still private and not out to the public yet. Any questions on this? This is out for parents to see, for you guys to see. I'm trying to do it on a bi-weekly basis instead of a weekly basis.
Is there a spot that possibly, I don't know if you want to do it or not, is how many, what percentage vaccination situation? It's
we
with
are,
students and staff. I mean, I don't know that, I know that you're really high as far as your staff. I mean, you're to be patted on the back. Everybody here that's done that, I mean, they made that decision themselves. And,
right.
But we're not probably the contagion.
No.
You know, I mean, but it's.
Well, and then the other thing that I can share here that came out today at the meeting with the superintendents and the health department is, and Dr. Sandoval made this very clear. He said the vaccination was never supposed to go out as it's going to keep you from getting COVID. That's not why you got the vaccination. The vaccination, he said, is to make sure you don't die or end up in the hospital. But it is not a deterrent to getting COVID.
No, we got it out twice.
Yeah. So, you know, and he said, I just want to make that clear. He said, for some reason, people think that once they got vaccinated, they wouldn't get COVID. He said, that is not true. So, okay. Now I'm done.
Guess we move on to our action items. Warrants.
Did anyone have any questions concerning the warrants?
Yeah, I have a couple. On the first page 5, there is the Capital One Public Funding LLC for a long-term loan debt for $53,000. What's that loan?
Page 5, you said?
Uh-huh. It's you want the numbers beforehand? Or?
No, what's the name of the company?
It's Capital One Public Funding.
That, I make sure I'm on page 5.
220483.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. 7439. Oh, that's one of our COP payments. So a COP is, give me that.
Basically, it's a form of funding that we use.
It's a loan.
Yeah, it's basically, it's debt, and we have the past for improvements on the campus.
Oh, okay.
This was taken out when George
So
was.
we're making a debt payment back. Certificates of participation.
How much do you still owe on that loan?
This loan is paid off in 2025. So this is, if we hadn't passed that bond, this is what we would have had to have done to get our health building and the ag building. We would have had to have done something like this. So George took this out back in 2000, because it was a 25-year loan.
Let's see, on the next page 6, we bought some new desks. We needed desks for students. So it's with ESSER money, so I'm guessing.
Yes.
In the hallway there in the-
Oh, in the office, it was for the new, like the counselors and things like that, so that we have spaces in the office.
And page 9, we did some tree work for $3,500. We cut down trees, what do we do?
There were some trees that had to be trimmed as we put up the shade structure and then some things out front.
Got it.
Yep.
And let's see, I think one more. It is on the second group of pages, on page 2. There's 2 things. The scissor lift, we probably needed it for somebody on the shade.
So our old scissor lift,
Right.
well, it hasn't totally died, but it's on its last leg, and Henry said it was about 15, 20 years old.
At least,
Yeah, and so this scissor lift, we got at a really good price, as you can see.
Okay. And then the Best Electric, right under it, also says SR3 money.
That was to put the lighting underneath the shade structure, and that lighting is photosensitive, so that when the sun goes down, the lights come on, and they stay on until the sun comes up.
Oh, check that out, okay. That's it. So I'll make a motion to approve the warrants.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to accept pay our warrants. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Consent agenda. Anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, do we have a
Make
motion?
a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0 on the consent agenda. School calendar for 2022 through 23 school year. If I remember right, that was option B.
Okay.
Did anyone have any questions pertaining to the school calendar? Seeing none, we have a motion to go ahead and pass.
I make a motion to pass the school calendar for 2022 22-23 school year.
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. CSBA, California School Boards Association Delegate for the Merced Region, Subregion 8-D. Did everybody get a chance to go through and read through all the qualifications? Not everybody got a chance?
So I just need to remind you, as a group, you can only choose one candidate. So you have to have some type of consensus on the one candidate you guys are gonna choose.
Should root for the striver, the guy that's only been a teacher for like whatever, the striver, he's striving. You want somebody with some energy in that spot.
The last one? The last,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I think that's the one I was
Zach
So,
Robbins.
It
Yeah.
is Ariel Gonzalez, Bertie Oliveras Kidwell, and Zachary David Ramos.
I vote for Ramos.
Two.
Me too.
Unanimous.
So we know who to put down.
Perfect. So our representative will be Zachary David Ramos from Gustine High School District.
You need a motion.
We did have a motion. Do we have a motion to go ahead and accept that? We have a motion by,
By Luca,
okay,
second by Jeannie.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Item number 14, PBK, Long Range Facilities Master Plan Service Agreement.
So again, this was the service agreement that came from PBK, the architects. The proposal includes the scope of services, professional fees, reimbursable expenses. The agreement is for these services not to exceed $30,000. And that again is they would come, they would walk the campus, they would give us a report that said the first year these things should be done, year 2 these things should be done, year 3 these things. They will come to meetings to get public input, get input from you guys as they're working on this plan. Okay, and then if we want to do some rearranging of like parking area, things like that, that will all be inclusive in this.
Do you have any other further questions?
What's the long range year? Like in the next 5 years or the next 10 years?
So the long range for what they're gonna tell us, these things should happen in between 1 and 3 years, and then I think it goes from 3 to 5 years, and then 5 to 7 or 8, and then I think there's one that goes 10 years and on. And again, the facilities master plan, I don't know when it was done the last time. I can tell you that we've been through 3 different architects since the one that is up on the wall, and that's the last one that's been done. That was prior to me. So it's probably been 25, 30 years since one's been completed here.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Because I mean, it would have been during George's
yeah.
tenure.
And Huff was the architect
Yes.
that did it.
It's not the cute little,
Yes.
it is that one?
Yeah, yeah. And again, we can use Fund 25, which is our developer fee money that we get from new houses going up or new developments, or we can use Fund 21, which is our bond money.
Is there enough in 25 for that?
Yes. There's approximately 75, 76. Yeah, just under 80,000 in Fund 25.
Well, it sounds like we probably should do something now.
Yes.
After 25 years.
Yes.
Plus with all the building.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the master plan service agreement with PBK.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. E-rate form, oh no, excuse me, number 15. SIM PBK Portable Buildings Project.
So this was the other one, and there is not a specific dollar amount, because we can't get that yet, but this was part of the ESSER 3 money that we're getting, which is over $2 million. We included 5 portables in that ESSER money, and so it would be, the cost of the services would be 4% of the cost of the portables, and then 9% of the cost of any site work is what the cost would be, that the architects would charge us, which is similar to how we're paying them for the health building and the ag building.
This is within the plan that they are gonna make.
This is in our ESSER 3 plan. Okay, so this would be something new that we would like to get done as soon as possible to have more space on campus. This is where I talked to you guys about some wellness rooms, about possibly if we can, and Dan and I will have to talk to somebody to figure out, but like put 3 wellness rooms out here, but then get 2 more portables to put across from the parking lot and possibly move the district office over there to open up that area for the school office and have more space for counselors and things.
Those are, your truck drivers for.
Sorry, Lucy.
The truck driver.
We have a motion to accept this.
So
Oh,
moved.
sorry.
Second.
Lucy, yes. I will.
Lucy, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 5-0. Number 16, E-rate form 470 bids for category 1 data transmission and internet access.
There was only one company that bid on this, AT&T, and we went with a 60-month contract, and it would be to change out our 1 gigabyte line to a 10 gigabyte line at the cost of $643 a month, but we would only be responsible for $128.60 a month. E-rate would pick up the rest.
Is that about what we're paying, or is?
I'd have to go back and look. I know it's more because we're gonna be moving to a 10 gigabyte line, but we're saving because we're going into a 5-year contract.
Just the out of pocket is, okay.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the E-rate forms 470 bids for category 1 data transmission and internet access.
Lucy's properly made a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Lupe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Number 17, E-rate form 470 bids for category 2 internal connections and broadband services.
So on this one, we received 5 bids. Again, when we went through the bids, it was Dan, myself, Jesus, and we ended up going with AMS.net, and the cost was $4,240.63, of which we only have to pay $848.13.
Any questions? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve E-rate form 470 bids for category 2 internal connections and broadband services.
It's been properly moved. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second with Lupe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Audit report findings and corrective actions.
I'm gonna turn that over to Dan.
I'm happy to report that after the 2021 audit, there are no findings to report.
Sweet.
Wow.
So this is going on my 3rd year here.
Thank you.
So since 1819 forward, we've had no findings here, so
Great.
that's positive.
Outstanding.
We
We need a motion to go ahead and accept the report.
I make a motion to accept the audit report findings and corrective actions.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passing 5-0. You now close.
You asked for public comment
Do we have any public comments
on closed session.
on closed session items? Seeing none,
I don't think anybody has any over there.
we'll now close our meeting, correct? We'll close our meeting at 8:31.
I thought you were saying that you were putting